Montgomery. A nationwide strike against President Emmanuel Macron's proposed pension reforms has brought much of France to a standstill. Trade unions boasted of solid support. The state-run railways said 85% of train drivers stayed away. Demonstrators oppose a universal system that would delay retirement for many beyond 62 years or cut their pensions. These people have different views on the strike.
Non, pas du tout. C'est une réforme contre laquelle on va lutter.
This is a reform that we will fight with all our strengths because we have already had many attacks against our social conditions.
I wanted to catch on the bus, but also there's a problem with the buses, so now I'm just walking. It's like 15 minutes, so I think I'll manage. But you can see in the city that it's really disturbing and nothing's working properly.
La retraite, moi j'y suis bientôt aussi dans quelques
I will retire soon, so yes, I think the strike is great. But I don't think it's good to hold it at this time of the year. Business is already difficult. We had 19 weeks of yellow vest protests. Now we have strikes.
The United Nations Migration Agency says at least 58 people have died after their boat capsized off the coast of Mauritania. More details from Abla Kla.
This was one of the deadliest disasters this year among migrants trying to make the perilous journey from Africa to Europe. According to survivors, the boat left the Gambia last week, carrying at least 150 people, including women and children. It capsized off the coast of Mauritania. The UN's migration agency said at least 83 people swam to shore, but the number confirmed dead is expected to rise. More than 35,000 Gambian migrants arrived in Europe between 2014 and 2018, with most fleeing poverty.
An Indian woman has been attacked and set on fire by a group of men, allegedly including two she had earlier accused of raping her. The young woman is now in hospital in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh, was on her way to a court hearing in her rape case when she was set upon. She's identified 5 attackers, who include the 2 facing charges for raping her earlier this year. Court in Bangladesh has ruled that the law on kidney donation should be amended to increase the supply of organs to patients who need them. Our South Asia editor, Jill McGivering, has this report.
Under the current law, only close family members can donate kidneys, but that leaves several thousand patients a year who need a transplant unable to have one. Transplants from brain-dead patients are legal too, but only with their family's consent, and that's seldom given. Now the High Court has called for an easing of the restrictions to increase supply. Not everyone agrees. Critics say a change could fuel an illegal trade in kidneys.
You're listening to the World News from the BBC. The authorities in Samoa have closed all non-essential public services as part of attempts to combat a measles epidemic that's killed more than 60 people since October. Medical teams are continuing to visit individual families that have not been vaccinated. Meanwhile, the UN Children's Agency, UNICEF, condemned the posting of social media messages that spread false information on measles vaccinations, making the population vulnerable to the disease. Emergency services in Poland have retrieved the bodies of all 8 people trapped under the rubble of a house destroyed by a suspected gas explosion. The bodies of 4 adults and 4 children have been found in the collapsed house. From Warsaw, Adam Easton reports.
The 3-storey home in the small ski resort town of Styrk collapsed into a heap of burning rubble following the gas explosion. Firefighters and police officers worked through the night, removing the debris piece by piece in their search for any survivors. Local officials said 9 people lived in the house, but 1 person had not been at home at the time of the explosion. A gas company spokesman said the blast may have been caused by damage to a pipeline near the house.
The Ugandan government says at least 8 people are now known to have died in a series of landslides in the east of the country on Tuesday. 2 more bodies were recovered on Wednesday. An estimated 30,000 people have been displaced in 3 districts of the volcanic Mount Elgon region. Iran's supreme leader has agreed that people killed in the recent protests who weren't involved in inciting them should be treated as martyrs and their families given cash compensation. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was responding to a government report. Human rights activists say more than 200 people were killed during the violence, which was triggered by a sudden rise in petrol prices. BBC News.